Now, conditional statements also connect to propositions, but with the format of if, then. So the proposition that follows if is called the hypothesis, and the proposition that follows then is called the conclusion. If the hypothesis is true, then we would expect to follow through with the conclusion. Should have made this line longer. I swear I have better handwriting than this shows, but if the hypothesis is false, then we just kind of don't know. Then we have not said anything about what we'll do. This will make more sense in a second. What we'll do or what the conclusion will be, however I want to phrase it. So if I'm using this idea of Louis is a dog and Flash is a cat, I'm claiming if Louis is a dog, then Flash is a cat. Okay, this is known as a conditional because I have an if, then statement. All right, well, I'm going to come up with the same orientation or matching that we came up with earlier, and then I alternate so then I can come up with every single option. Okay, now so let's think about this and how to figure out the truth values of these. If Louis is a dog, which is true, then Flash is a cat. Well, that's true. Does that make sense? Because sure, if Louis is a dog, then yeah, they're both true. Now this one, so I'm following, let's go here. I'm following here. If the hypothesis is true, I follow with whatever the conclusion is. So let's make sense of that. If Louis is a dog, so that's true, then Flash is not a cat. Well, my hypothesis is true. So it takes on the truth value of whatever my conclusion is. So because that's false, let me get rid of that. This is false. Okay? Because it all depends on if Louis is a dog, then I can figure out what the conclusion will be. So the conclusion will always take on the truth value of whatever the conclusion is based off if the hypothesis is true. So now I'm claiming that Louis is not a dog. I don't know then. My world has been turned upside down. If my dog isn't a dog, then, well, I have to do some soul searching. So that's why I have no clue what will happen. So sure, I mean, yeah, Flash is a cat. Yeah, okay. Then, again, if Louis is a dog, then Flash is not a cat. Sure, that can be true, right? Because all rules have been thrown out. You don't know what happens if your hypothesis isn't true. So the key thing to take away from this is if the hypothesis is true, then the statement is the truth value of the conclusion. This can get very confusing, I know. Okay, then if the hypothesis is false, then the statement is true. Because you just don't have any information. It could be whatever, you have no idea what people are going to do or what's going to happen or all rules of logic have been thrown out the window if my hypothesis is false. Okay, so now let's try a much more complex truth table. And so this is very similar to what you'll be doing in your homework write-up. All right. So I'm going to start filling out this column, not A. So it can kind of get confusing of where to focus. So I'm just going to highlight, I'm only looking at A's right now. So for this column, not A, I'm going to fill in all the opposites. So, okay, well, if that's true, that's false. Then that has to be false. That has to be false. That has to be false. This has to be true, 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 true. All right. That one's nice and easy. Now I want to fill in the truth value for not A or B. So now my eyes have to focus on not A. So I'm going to get rid of this so I don't get confused. So not A or B. So I'm looking only at those two columns. Now remember, we talked about this, that in order for an or statement to be true, just one has to be true. So if I look in my first row, oh, okay, one's true, it's true. One's true, true. Uh-oh, both are false. That means this has to be false. Both are false. This is false. One's true at least, so true, 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 true. All right. Now we're going to do this conditional statement piece. So now it doesn't even want, it just wants me to look at not, if not A or B, then C. So I'm going to take my eyes off this column and focus on if not A or B, which is this column, then C. So order does matter with these conditionals. So this is saying, I'm going to write it over here so I don't get confused. This is saying if true, then true. Okay, so if we go up here, if hypothesis is true, then the statement is the truth value of the conclusion. So I just focused, so since my hypothesis is true and my conclusion is true, then it will take on that truth value of the conclusion. All right, this one says if true, then false. So once again, I'm focusing, okay, well, my hypothesis is true, so I have to just conclude whatever my conclusion is. So it's false. This says if false, then true. Okay, well, if my hypothesis is false, then yeah, it's true, because I don't know what to go off of. I don't have enough information. If false, then false. So that's going to also be true since my hypothesis is false. If true, then true. Well, my hypothesis is true and my conclusion, so I take on the truth value of my conclusion. If true, then false. Again, same concept. My hypothesis is true, so I have to assume whatever my conclusion is. If true, then true. Same idea, so it has to be true. If true, then false. So what do you think that will be? And hopefully you said false. Okay, so when you have your assignment on this, it can get very tricky. So please, email me what you came up with, and I can check it before you turn it in. And also on my open math, your online homework, it can get very tricky. So yeah, just please ask me any questions you have.